Welcome back, I'm Felix, and I am reacting to 15 incredible lost 90s sci-fi shows that deserve a second chance. I actually did a couple videos similar to this. I pick a sci-fi show I thought should be brought back, and I went over like different ways to bring it back, and I did that for a while, but I ran out of ideas. It felt like I was repeating the same thing for each show. So I kind of stopped doing it. That's on my other channel. I'll leave a link for it if you want to check it out. But yeah, I just kept, it felt like I was regurgitating the same thing for each show. Cause there was a couple of them, like, an example was I did My Mother the Car and Knight Rider together. Cause I thought that could be a crossover show. For those of you who don't know about My Mother the Car, it's about a woman who gets reincarnated as her son's car. He finds this old classic car. I think the car was built around the same time she was born or something like that. And she inhabits the car and she talks to him. I thought, in this day and age, you could just dismiss it if anyone caught you talking to the car, be like, oh, it's AI, it's Chat GPT or something like that. And she could have a relationship with Kit. That could be the crossover. And I even thought about how would the car, how the mom get in the car. And one way was like the mom was cremated and her ashes got sucked up inside the car's system and got sucked into all the wiring of the car and became part of the car. Something like that. I had a couple different ways that it could happen, but still, after a while, I kind of, even with that being a really different idea, I still started stating the same thing for each one. I was like, let me stop. I might go back and try it again if I come across any sci-fi shows I didn't cover. But I thought I'd watch this one because it felt like it'd be interesting to see what sci-fi shows they talk about that I completely missed. Because there was, back in the 80s and 90s, there was tons of sci-fi shows. So there's plenty I know I missed. And not just live action, it was cartoons as well. So there's probably thousands upon thousands of shows I missed, of course. All right, let's get into it and have some sci-fi fun. Oh, and don't forget to like, subscribe. I almost forgot to say that. Gotta say that. All right, let's get into it.
Strangest, and most imaginative sci-fi shows of the 90s aren't the ones people still talk about. They weren't The X-Files or Star Trek. Instead, they were shows that tried something different. Sometimes too different for the networks or the audiences of their time. And while many of them burned out after a season or two, they left behind ideas that still feel ahead of their time. Today, we're dusting off the forgotten corners of 90s television to uncover 15 incredible sci-fi shows that never got the love they deserved, but absolutely deserve a second chance. And trust me, some of these titles will blow your mind. Number 15, So Weird, 1999 to 2001. Before Stranger Things made supernatural mysteries cool again, Disney Channel quietly aired one of the weirdest, darkest shows it ever produced, So Weird. On the surface, it looked like a kid-friendly paranormal adventure, but this series went places Disney almost never dared to go.
First, why is he so zoomed in? Is it for copyright, I wonder? But I do remember the title So Weird, but I never watched it. I think I was out of high school at that point, and it just didn't appeal to me.
Followed Fiona Phillips, a teenage girl obsessed with uncovering paranormal activity while traveling with her mom's rock band. Each episode pulled viewers into urban legends, alien encounters, haunted houses, and government conspiracies. What set So Weird apart was its willingness to get genuinely creepy. It didn't sugarcoat the scares, and some storylines dove into surprisingly heavy themes for a Disney series. But halfway through, the show hit turbulence. Fiona's actress, Cara Delicia, left after season 2, and Disney replaced her with a new character, Annie. Fans weren't thrilled. Annie's lighter tone stripped away the eerie atmosphere that had made the series stand out. Ratings slipped, and Disney quietly pulled the plug after season 3. To this day, So Weird remains strangely absent from streaming platforms, making it harder to revisit than other Disney shows of the era. Yet fans still keep its memory alive online, calling it The X-Files for kids. Many argue that if Disney gave it another chance, with modern effects and a darker edge, it could easily find a cult following in today's era of paranormal obsession. But So Weird was just the beginning. The next show on our list...
That's weird. Like the girl how I'm trying to think how they would replace her. I mean, if your daughter, she's the daughter. Now part of me wants to go find it to see how they wrote her out. It's like, did she go off to school and the girl was a niece or something? That's so weird. I know they try to carry on show, especially when they're popular, without the main star, but that one seems kind of odd. It seems like they should have just canceled the show. Now this is Sliders, it looks like. I did actually talk about Sliders bringing it back. I did a couple different ways of bringing it back. Even one way I talked about bringing it back was a whole new cast and just starting over. But they could still have cameos of them. They wouldn't have to necessarily play their characters, but they could still cross over and be on the show. I even talked about picking up where it left off, kind of, even. But I'm actually surprised no one's tried to bring back Sliders, actually, in some form. It was actually a pretty good show. It stayed on for a long time.
Didn't air on a family channel at all, and it was so ambitious it was practically doomed from the start. Number 14, Sliders. 1995-2000. Imagine a show that let you travel to alternate Earths where history took a different turn, some terrifying, some hilarious, all wildly creative. That was Sliders, a series that promised infinite possibilities every week. Quinn Mallory, a young genius, builds a wormhole device that accidentally strands him, his professor, his best friend, and a washed-up singer sliding from one parallel world to the next. The concept was pure sci-fi gold. One week, America was still under British rule. The next, women ruled society. Another, the dinosaurs never went extinct. The show tapped into the what-if questions we all secretly wonder about. And at its best, it felt like a blend of science fiction and social commentary. But as brilliant as the premise was, behind the scenes, things got messy. Fox constantly tinkered with the show, demanding more action and fewer thoughtful stories. Budget cuts forced recycled sets and weaker special effects, and cast departures left a noticeable void. By the time it limped to its 5th season on the Sci-Fi Channel, Sliders had lost most of its original cast and much of its spark. Still, the first few seasons remain a cult classic. Fans continue to debate which Earth was the best, and there are constant rumors about a reboot. Even original star Jerry O'Connell has hinted at wanting to return. In today's age of multiverse madness...
See, this is what I'm talking about. Jerry O'Connell, he should just do it. I know it takes money to do this stuff, but get the money together. You know, I know, like I said, it sounds easier said than done, but yeah, get it done, man. I would start getting the ball rolling. See if you can get the rights. The first thing would be get the rights to the show and just go from there. I don't know. I think I would, if I was on a show and I wanted to bring it back, I would be going all in and trying to bring it back. That's just me.
Sliders feels more relevant than ever. But while Sliders dreamed big about alternate realities, the next show was obsessed with uncovering the darkest secrets lurking in our own. Number 13, Dark Skies.
I remember this show, but I never watched it. For some reason, something about it, I just never got into it.
1996 to 1997. What if everything you learned in history class was a lie, and the truth was that aliens had been pulling the strings all along? That was the hook of Dark Skies, a conspiracy-driven sci-fi thriller that aired on NBC in the mid-90s. Riding on the wave of The X-Files, it promised to rewrite American history with a chilling twist. From the Kennedy assassination to the Vietnam War, every major event was influenced by an alien species called the Hive. The show followed John Loengard, a young congressional aide who stumbles onto classified files proving the alien presence, and Kim Sayers, his girlfriend-turned-reluctant partner in a fight against forces far bigger than they imagined. With shadowy government agents, shape-shifting invaders, and secret societies, Dark Skies blurred the line between real history and science fiction in a way that was both thrilling and unsettling. Despite critical praise and a loyal fan base, the show struggled against tough competition in its time slot. NBC cut it after just one season, leaving a massive cliffhanger unresolved. Behind the scenes, producers had mapped out a sweeping 5-season arc that would have stretched all the way into the modern era, but viewers never got to see it. Today, Dark Skies feels like a lost treasure. Its blend of Cold War paranoia and alien mythology could easily thrive on streaming, especially with audiences who binge shows like Stranger Things, or The Man in the High Castle. For fans of government conspiracies and UFO lore, this is one series that deserves a serious revival. But while Dark Skies reimagined our past, the next show leapt straight into the future with a hero who could literally outrun time itself. Number 12, Time Tracks.
I actually talked about this one too. When I went to cover, I didn't realize it wasn't on that long. But I watched it so many times in syndication, and sometimes it would be out of order. But yeah, this is one that definitely could come back, especially with today's society and everything that's going on.
1994. Long before time travel became a streaming staple, Time Tracks delivered a clever twist on the concept. The show followed Darian Lambert, a cop from the 22nd century sent back to the 1990s to hunt down dangerous fugitives who had escaped into the past. His mission? Capture them without altering history, a rule that made every encounter more dangerous than it first appeared. What made Time Tracks unique was how it blended futuristic tech with everyday 90s settings. Darian had only a few high-tech gadgets to rely on: a microcomputer named Selma, disguised as a credit card, and a device that could transport criminals back to the future. Everything else had to be solved with quick thinking, detective work, and adapting to a world centuries behind his own. The show aired in first-run syndication, the same model that helped Star Trek. The Next Generation thrive, but unlike Trek, Time Tracks struggled to find a consistent audience. Its mix of police procedural and science fiction confused some viewers, and limited budgets meant the futuristic elements often had to take a back seat to present-day drama. After 2 seasons, it quietly disappeared, leaving fans with lingering what-ifs. Today, Time Tracks...
I think that was Jerry Ryan again. She's like sci-fi royalty. I didn't realize how many sci-fi shows she was in.
For a reboot. The idea of fugitives escaping into the past, and one lone officer forced to bring them back without breaking history, could easily work with modern effects and serialized storytelling. With the right creative team, it could finally get the recognition it deserved. But while Time Tracks looked to the future, the next show...
Now, that's not to be confused with the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where Time Cop, where he traveled, basically the same premise, bad guys escaped to the past and he had to go get them. And they did make a series out of Time Cop, actually. It did not do that well. And I don't remember actually watching Time Cops, the series. I watched the movie, but not the series. But yeah, Time Tracks, the premise of it, I think, would work, especially right now, especially with the political climate we're in right now. I think it would really work quite well, actually.
Turned to the oceans, imagining a high-tech Earth where humanity's survival might depend on what lies beneath. Number 11, Sequest.
I talked about this one too. Again, like I said, I started recycling, and that's why I stopped doing it. Because just like all the others, I said, one, they could whole new cast, just start over. And sort of like Star Trek, they could really start over with it. And they could even do a prequel, actually, leading up to Sequest. Sequest was the name of the sub. So they could start over on how the main character came up with the idea and leading up to Sequest. And they could even have 2 shows at once, working, doing it that way. Another one is pick up where the show left off. So that's why I said I was kind of regurgitating the same thing. And in some cases, you really could pick up where the show left off. Downside to this one, at least 2 of the lead actors have since passed away. But yeah, I really did like Sequest. I wish but it did go off the rails. It did what's called jumping the shark. They went from everything was underwater to the ship got taken into outer space to go fight a space battle on another planet. It's just like that. They jumped the shark. And the lead actor left the show, actually. He was like, yeah, I'm done.
DSV, 1993 to 1996. When Sequest DSV premiered, it was hyped as Star Trek Under the Sea. Produced by Steven Spielberg's Amblin Entertainment, the series imagined a near future where humanity had turned to the oceans for...
let me see. Those glowing rock things, those was part of an episode, and this guy here, he was collecting them. I remember this episode, well, not the whole episode, but I remember about the rocks. Turned out the glowing rocks were poop from a radioactive animal or something like that. So it was like, it's poop, and immediately got rid of them.
imagined a near future where humanity had turned to the oceans for resources, colonization, and exploration. At the heart of it all was the massive submarine Sequest, commanded by the wise captain Nathan Bridger, with a crew that mixed military officers, scientists, and even a talking dolphin named Darwin.
Yeah, they could have done without Darwin. I actually didn't like Darwin being part of the show. I think I kind of get what they're trying to get an animal in there, and they went with the dolphin, but they did not need the dolphin. I think they got rid of the dolphin in the next did they get rid of Dolphin? I feel like they got rid of him towards the end. He was unnecessary. They did not need him.
Early episodes leaned into optimism and science, with plots about marine life, undersea colonies, and environmental issues. But network executives panicked when ratings didn't match the hype. By season 2, the show shifted into action-heavy sci-fi, complete with aliens, time travel, and futuristic weapons. Many fans were turned off by the sudden change, and star Roy Scheider, best known for Jaws, publicly criticized the direction. In a last-ditch effort, NBC rebranded the show as Sequest 2032, jumping a decade into the future with a grittier military tone and new lead Michael Ironside. But by then, the damage was done. The series was canceled after 3 seasons, leaving its legacy split between brilliant ideas and messy execution. Despite its flaws, Sequest remains fascinating. It tackled environmental issues years before they became mainstream and presented a vision of the ocean as humanity's final frontier. With today's renewed interest in climate change...
Real quick, I just thought of it. When it went off the air, when season 1 came to an end, a lot of the characters actually left. A lot of the actors left. I don't know if they left of their own free will, but season 2 is like a lot of, like the guy I was telling you about collecting the poop, he was gone. And I believe that there was a female lead. She was the commander. She was gone. No, she wasn't the commander. I forget what her rank was. But yeah, they just like cleaned the house and got rid of a whole bunch of people. And you knew they were leaving because they like, oh, I'm getting reassigned. It's like, what was the point of getting attached to these characters? It's like, it didn't make any sense to me. But yeah, they got rid of a lot of people at the end of season 1.
And undersea exploration, a modern revival could resonate in ways the original never got the chance to. But while Sequest plunged into the deep, the next show stayed on land, following a man whose heightened senses made him both extraordinary and dangerously vulnerable. Number 10, The Sentinel, 1996.
This one, I didn't watch religiously. I watched it every now and again. It didn't appeal to me for some reason. There was just something about it. I just couldn't get into it. If it was on, I left it on, but otherwise, I didn't watch it. So I can't really say if it was good or bad. But I do remember this one. But yeah, I don't know why I couldn't get into it. Oh, I think the husband from Desperate Housewives is on here. One of the husbands. I think his character got killed off on Desperate Housewives. He was the lead actor on here.
1999. In the mid-90s, UPN took a gamble on a sci-fi cop.
His hairline really didn't change. I mean, it went further back, but it never really changed.
Drama with a twist. What if a police detective had hyper-acute senses that gave him superhuman abilities, but also put him at constant risk? That was the premise of The Sentinel, a series that blended crime procedural with sci-fi in a way that felt ahead of its time. Detective Jim Ellison, played by Richard Burgi, had served in the military and developed heightened senses of sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch. Back in the city, these powers made him an incredible investigator, able to hear a suspect's heartbeat, smell hidden explosives, or track someone by sound alone. But there was a catch. If Jim focused too much on one sense, he could zone out, losing touch with reality completely. That's where his partner Blair Sandberg, an anthropology grad student studying him, came in, acting as both guide and comic relief. The show quickly built a cult following, thanks to its mix of action, humor, and mythology about sentinels, ancient guardians with extraordinary abilities. But despite strong fan support, ratings were modest. UPN canceled it after 3 seasons, leaving much of its larger mythology unresolved. Fans fought back with campaigns and petitions, briefly convincing the network to produce a wrap-up TV movie. Still, The Sentinel remains largely forgotten, overshadowed by bigger 90s hits. Yet its concept, a cop gifted with extraordinary senses navigating the dangers of modern crime,
UPN. That could explain it. Or did he say CW? Either way, neither one exists anymore, pretty much. I think when I actually came across the show, it was on Sci-Fi. I must have caught it in syndication because I don't remember watching it on that channel. So, but yeah, like I said, I didn't really get into it for some reason. Something about it just didn't appeal to me.
Feels like something that could thrive on streaming today. But while The Sentinel dealt with powers of the mind and body, the next series jumped headfirst into the chaos of time itself, where a single week could change the fate of the world. Number 9, 7 Days, 1998.
And again, I did talk about this one. I really did like this show. This guy here, he was on Sequest. He was the commander. He was the second in command on Sequest. And I didn't realize he was Australian, and his brother is an actor too, and I can't think of his brother's name. What's the brother's name? Anyway. Yeah, his brother's an actor too. But I did talk about this one. I think this show got canceled around, was it 9/11? It may have got canceled before then. But I don't think 9/11 caused it to get canceled. The ratings, I think, just dipped. But it was a pretty good show, in my opinion. And I think even if historical events happen while it's on the air, they could have found ways around it. But yeah, it'd be interesting to see them bring this show back as well. But I do know behind the scenes, these two did not get along, actually. And she started appearing in, you didn't realize it, but she actually wasn't in a lot of episodes, apparently. Or they weren't on screen together. You know how they do when actors don't get along, they kind of work it out in a way, so to speak.
To 2001. What if you could go back in time, but only 7 days, to stop disasters before they happen? That was the hook of 7 Days, a fast-paced sci-fi thriller that combined espionage, military intrigue, and time travel paradoxes into one addictive package. The show followed Frank Parker, a former Navy SEAL recruited by a secret government program after a crashed alien spacecraft provided the technology for backstepping, a system that could send one man 7 days into the past. Frank's job was to undo terrorist attacks, political assassinations, or global catastrophes before they spiraled out of control. The catch? He had to relive those days while carrying the burden of knowing what was about to happen, and sometimes, who was about to die. The series stood out for its mix of high-stakes missions and dark humor. Frank was reckless, sarcastic, and unpredictable, which made him both a perfect agent and a constant headache for his handlers. The tension between him and the bureaucrats running the project gave the show its edge. Despite its originality, 7 Days struggled with network support. It never got the big marketing push it needed, and its complex premise made it harder to attract casual viewers. After 3 seasons, UPN pulled the plug, leaving fans with unanswered questions about the alien technology and the true scope of the project. In today's
There is one thing, what was I going to say? Oh man, it popped in my head and popped right out. In the series, it was like he was the only one that could do it. No one else could withstand the forces of going back in time. And one of the things I didn't like about it was the black guy was supposed to be the backup, but yet he couldn't do it. So my thing was, why is he the backup if he can't do it? That made no sense. It's like, yeah, he's great for your security and military side of things, but as the backup person who's supposed to be stepping back in time, that made no sense. They should have had a secondary person who could go in case he couldn't go. Even have an episode where the secondary goes back. I mean, or have it where they switch off going back in time. It could be 2 leads instead of just 1. I will admit one of the things I didn't like was the lead character. He was a lot of times arrogant to the point of his arrogance made him right. And but for some reason I was able to overlook it. I did like the show, like I said. But yeah, even with its hang-ups, I still enjoy the show. But there are some things I would definitely change, and that is the backup person. It's like, how are you the backup, but yet you can't backstep? That made no sense.
binge-worthy serialized storytelling, 7 Days could easily shine again. With modern effects and a tighter arc, it might finally deliver the deeper conspiracy the original never got to finish. But while 7 Days toyed with rewriting the past, the next show dove...
Oh, one thing, the alien technology that gave him the ability, the alien was actually still alive apparently, and was apparently pure evil. I don't remember much about the alien because they really didn't touch on it that much, which was a downside. So I think that's what he means by they could flush all that out.
Move into a future apocalypse filled with paranoia, prophecy, and the end of the world itself. Number 8, Millennium, 1996-1999.
Yeah, I never got into this show. This is sort of like a spinoff of X-Files. But for whatever reason, I just couldn't get into this one. I remember it, but just could not get into it.
From the X-Files creator Chris Carter came another dark, atmospheric series, one that was even more unsettling than Mulder and Scully's adventures. Millennium followed Frank Black, a former FBI profiler with an almost supernatural gift for understanding the minds of killers. Played with quiet intensity by Lance Henriksen, Frank tried to leave his violent past behind, only to be pulled into a shadowy world of cults, conspiracies, and apocalyptic prophecies as the year 2000 loomed. Unlike most network shows of its time, Millennium was unapologetically grim. Episodes explored serial killers, demonic forces, and the unsettling idea that the end of the world was near. What set it apart was its tone, bleak, atmospheric, and dripping with paranoia. While the X-Files balanced humor with horror, Millennium rarely offered relief. It was slow-burn dread, and it hit harder than audiences expected. The show built a dedicated fan base, but its darkness made it a tough sell for Fox, which kept pushing for changes in tone. Later seasons tried to lighten the mood and expand into broader storylines, but the constant retooling left viewers divided. After 3 seasons, Millennium was canceled, ironically, just before the actual turn of the millennium. Still, its influence lingers. Many fans see it as a precursor to the darker, serialized dramas that would dominate television in the 2000s, like Dexter or Hannibal. And with Henriksen still beloved in genre circles, a reboot or revival could easily capture today's true crime-obsessed audience.
With this one, would they keep the name? They could still keep the name Millennium, but I'm trying to think, would this work actually? Because like I said, the show kept constantly getting retooled. Maybe if they went back to the original concept, end of the world prophecy stuff, that might work. But also I feel like the lead actor is old. In fact, I don't think he really acts anymore. If anything, he could be a side character. He could still be the main character. Like his character could still be in the show, but as a side character, and just a whole new cast, kind of picking up maybe where he left off, or like I've said for many of them, like a whole new cast, just start over. Sometimes it's better to start over, and for me, the best example of a do-over on a show is Battlestar Galactica. When it first came back, I was like, I don't know, because I did watch the original, and the original was kind of campy for its time, and then when they did Battlestar Galactica 1980, that one was weird. But they kind of incorporated all the lore of Battlestar Galactica and kept it dark. It stayed a dark sci-fi show, and it worked. It was a successful show. So they could come back and just whole new cast and do it like that. And some of the original cast members did guest star on Battlestar Galactica, so they could do it like that as well.
But while Millennium stared into humanity's darkest fears, the next show pushed its main character into a reality so fragile that even his own identity couldn't be trusted. Number 7, Nowhere Man, 1995 to 1996. Imagine having your entire life erased in a single moment. Your friends gone, your marriage void, your career wiped from existence. That was the chilling premise of Nowhere Man, one of the most unsettling sci-fi thrillers of the 90s. The series followed Thomas Vale, a photojournalist.
Oh, that reminds me of another show. I can't think of the name of it. The guy wakes up, has no clue who he is, but he knows everything. The actor that was in it was in Prison Break, and he was also on Legends of Tomorrow. He was Rory. Was he Rory? Is that his character's name? He was the firebug, the flamethrower guy. What is his real name? I think he's Australian. But yeah, he was on Prison Break in that show, and I can't think of. I'm sure there's other shows he was in, of course. but he was the lead actor in that, and he just woke up and knew everything. He could figure out anything, solve anything. He knew how to make money and all that stuff, but he had no clue who he was. Now I won't have to look up the name of that show. If I find it, I'll flash it up on the screen. But what was the name of that show? Oh.
Who captured a disturbing image called Hidden Agenda. One night, he goes to dinner with his wife, and when he returns from the restroom, everything is gone. His credit cards are canceled, his keys don't work, his wife claims not to know him, and his entire identity has been deleted. From that point forward, Vale is hunted by a shadowy organization desperate to retrieve the photograph, which may reveal a government conspiracy. What made Nowhere Man so gripping was its relentless paranoia. Each episode found Vale on the run, trying to uncover who was behind the erasure while encountering people who might be allies or enemies planted to manipulate him. The storytelling was sharp, tense, and constantly kept viewers questioning reality along with the main character. Despite its critical acclaim and cult following, Nowhere Man only lasted one season on UPN. Plans for deeper arcs and revelations were cut short, leaving the story unfinished. Still, its influence can be felt in later shows like Alias, Person of Interest, and even Black Mirror. With identity theft, surveillance, and government overreach dominating modern headlines, Nowhere Man feels more relevant than ever. A reboot could explore these themes with terrifying precision. But while Nowhere Man was about one man's fight to reclaim his...
I really don't recall this one at all. Yeah, I know the lead actor. I think he's still alive, but I'm sitting here watching this, and it just reminds me of another show. Like I said, that other show, but yeah, I don't recall this one at all. Usually, sometimes I can recall something about it, but nothing.
life. The next series put a teenage genius and a rock band in the middle of strange paranormal chaos. Number 6. Weird Science. 1994 to 1997. Most people remember...
I saw the movie and I watched the series. This came on USA Network. The series was pretty funny. But yeah, I remember watching this and I thought it was pretty good.
Weird Science as the quirky 80s John Hughes movie about two nerdy teens who literally create their dream woman with a computer. But in the mid-90s, the story was reborn as a TV series, and while it ran for 5 seasons on the USA Network, it somehow slipped into cult obscurity. The show followed Gary and Wyatt, two socially awkward teens who hack together a virtual genie-like woman named Lisa. Played by Vanessa Angel, Lisa wasn't just a fantasy figure. She had actual powers, warping reality at will. One moment she was granting wishes. The next, she was pulling the boys into bizarre adventures that mashed comedy, science fiction, and high school drama into one chaotic mix. What made the series stand out was its sheer unpredictability. One episode might parody the Terminator, another might toss the characters into a medieval fantasy world, and another could explore time travel or alien invasions.
I just realized they're splicing together the movie and the series, so I'm like confused. Like, I don't remember that in the series. I remember that in the movie. So I'm sitting here and I was like, oh, they're splicing together the movie and the series.
It had the anything goes energy of Saturday morning cartoons, but delivered with live actors. Yet despite its creativity, Weird Science never broke into mainstream success. Critics often dismissed it as goofy, and many fans of the original film ignored it entirely. By its later seasons, the show leaned heavily into campy humor, which alienated some viewers. Still, it has a charm that fits perfectly into today's era of nostalgic reboots, with its blend of comedy, sci-fi, and wish-fulfillment chaos. Weird Science could thrive again, especially in a world obsessed with AI and virtual reality. But while Weird Science played its strangeness for laughs, the next show on our list was...
That one I'm not 100% sure would work right now, because there was a lot of humor in there that a lot of people wouldn't like today. And it really circled around the idea of two guys creating a woman and trying to control her. But just like the movie, they had zero control over her. They could not control her. In the series, they could not control her either. So, I mean, on the one hand, it could be an empowerment show about a woman, even though she was created by man. It's like, I'm a woman, you know. But yeah, in the movie, they created her and had zero control over her. And in the series, they created her and had no control over her either.
Dead serious. And it burned bright and fast with a vision of biological terror and supernatural mystery. Number 5, The Burning Zone, 1990.
I've heard this show. I've heard of the name, but I never watched it. And that's all I can tell you about it.
1997. In the mid-90s, NBC tried to cash in on the rising fear of global pandemics, bioterrorism, and mysterious...
I'll be honest. Usually if NBC had a sci-fi show, it was rare I watched it. Now, Sequest was NBC, but I don't know what NBC was trying to do. Because when Sequest first started, I really liked the way it was going. If they left it alone, I think it would have done just fine. But NBC, when it comes to sci-fi shows, always want to mess with it, and they end up screwing it up. So if I hear that NBC's involved sometimes, I'm just like, I'll catch it if I catch it.
Diseases, with a show that blended hard science with supernatural twists. That show was The Burning Zone, a series that started off like Outbreak for television, only to take a sharp left turn into something far stranger. The premise followed a team of government scientists tasked with investigating...
Was there a screenshot of Star Trek in there?
The premise followed a team of government...
Why is there... I don't... I don't know why Star Trek Voyager is in there. It made no sense.
Scientists tasked with investigating deadly viruses and chemical threats around...
I wonder if there was like a copyright strike and they had to cover up, so they just threw in this scene from Star Trek Voyager.
The world. Early episodes leaned heavily into science-based storytelling, with plots about mutating pathogens and deadly outbreaks that felt ripped from real headlines. At first, it seemed like a grounded medical thriller with a sci-fi edge, but halfway through its first and only season, the show was retooled. Producers pivoted from science to supernatural, bringing in storylines about mysticism, prophecies, and even demonic forces behind some of the outbreaks. The tonal whip...
Okay, I just realized something. I'm pretty confident this scene is not from the show, and there was another scene.
Producers pivoted from science to supernatural, bringing in storylines about mysticism, prophecies, and even...
This scene, I'm pretty confident it's not from the show either. They look familiar, but I don't know where they're from. And I'm pretty confident they're not from the show, because even the video outline of it looks different. Like this was a different film type, recorded on a different type of medium. I'm assuming there were some copyright strikes and he just spliced over top of it.
Demonic forces behind some of the outbreaks. The tonal whiplash left audiences confused. Fans who wanted realism felt alienated, while viewers drawn to the darker, stranger direction didn't arrive fast enough to save it. NBC canceled the show after 19 episodes, leaving plenty of unanswered questions. Today, The Burning Zone feels oddly...
Unless it's, you know what, I wonder... Kind of looked like the same actor if they just had, like he was on a comedy show and they just took those scenes and threw in there.
Prophetic. With modern audiences far more aware of pandemics and global health crises, its original concept could thrive if revisited. Imagine a reboot that leaned fully into the science side, but with the occasional eerie twist, it could hit the same sweet spot as Chernobyl or The Last of Us. But while The Burning Zone was undone by its own identity crisis, the next show on our...
Yeah, that could definitely, especially with all the conspiracy theories and stuff out there these days, I think that show could thrive in today's society. But just that video clip of Voyager just out of nowhere.
Our list was bizarre from...
I wonder if he did that and other things, I just didn't catch it.
From the start, a surreal blend of newsroom satire, alien puppets, and outright chaos. Number 4, Lost on Earth, 1997. Some shows are forgotten because they were ahead of their time. Others are forgotten because they were just too weird.
I really don't remember this one. Puppets? A sci-fi puppet show?
To ever find the right audience. Lost on Earth definitely fell into the second category. Airing briefly on the USA Network in 1997, it was a bizarre mix of workplace comedy, alien invasion, and puppetry. Yes, puppetry. The story followed David Rudy, a struggling Chicago reporter who gets demoted to hosting a children's puppet show.
Hey, that's what they did. I was right, because that's the guy. They took scenes from this one and spliced it into the other one. So I was right.
The puppets aren't really puppets at all. They're aliens disguised as puppets, hiding out on Earth after crash landing their ship in. David becomes their reluctant ally, juggling his ruined career, his complicated love life, and the constant chaos of living with extraterrestrial roommates who look like they belong on Sesame Street. On paper, it was a wild idea. In execution, it left audiences scratching their heads. The show couldn't decide if it wanted to be a quirky sci-fi comedy, a romance, or a straight-up parody. Reviews were brutal, calling it awkward and uneven, and USA canceled it after just one season. And yet, Lost on Earth has a strange charm. Its willingness to be completely absurd makes it memorable in a way many safe shows from the...
I never saw it. And I watched a lot of those crazy USA Network shows, and I do not remember this one at all.
90s aren't. In an era where cult oddities often get rediscovered, this one feels like it's just waiting for people to stumble across clips and wonder how it ever got made. But if Lost on Earth felt too silly for its own good, the next show was the exact opposite. A deadly serious attempt at a gritty, futuristic cop drama from none other than William Shatner. Number 3, Tech War,
Okay.
1994.
I did watch this one. I don't think I did a video on it, but I wasn't that into it. I did watch it, but I can't explain it. It felt like the execution was off. It just didn't work for me.
To 1996. When most people think of William Shatner after Star Trek, they picture his larger-than-life acting style and quirky charisma. But in the mid-90s, Shatner wasn't just starring in sci-fi, he was writing. Based on his series of novels, Tech War imagined a future where society was hooked on a dangerous new digital drug called tech, capable of creating lifelike virtual realities that were as addictive as any narcotic. The story followed ex-cop Jake Cardigan, wrongfully imprisoned for dealing tech, who gets a second chance when a powerful businessman recruits him to fight the criminals controlling the tech underworld. What followed was a mix of cyberpunk grit, detective noir, and virtual reality dystopia. Think Blade Runner meets Law and Order. Tech War began as a series of TV movies before spinning off into a syndicated series. And for a moment, it looked like it might become a breakout franchise. It had action, cool ideas, and Shatner's name plastered everywhere. But the execution couldn't quite match the ambition. Budget limitations meant cheap effects for a story that demanded high-tech vision.
That's what I was saying. It felt like the execution was off. Because I kind of remember the movies and the series. It just... there was something off about it. I think when it became a series, it really went downhill. Now, again, this is one, if they were to redo it with today's technology and stuff, I think it could be a hit. People probably would enjoy something like this if done correctly. That's the main key to any show, even if it's a reboot, original, whatever. If the execution is not there, it's not going to survive. You gotta execute it correctly first off. And one of the things I hate is when I hear, oh, you gotta stick around till season 2, or you gotta get through the first 12 episodes of the all 24 episodes. It's like, no. If you lose me after episode 1, I'm not coming back. You know, I've even given a show like 3 episodes. By the 3rd episode, if you ain't got me wanting to come back, I'm done. Because sometimes you'll watch something and you're like, well, maybe there is something there, and then 3rd episode, it's like nothing's happened. It's like, yeah, no. Shows that take forever to get to the main point usually are critically acclaimed, but don't last long.
Visuals and plots often fell into predictable procedural territory. By 1996, the series fizzled out, remembered more for Shatner's involvement than its storytelling. Still, the core concept, a virtual reality drug that blurs the line between fantasy and addiction, feels eerily ahead of its time. With today's conversations about VR, AI, and digital escapism, Tech War could hit harder now than it ever did in the 90s. But while Tech War warned about the dangers of virtual addiction, the next show shifted the battlefield to the stars, pitting humanity against an alien enemy in one of the most ambitious military sci-fi series of the decade. Number 2, Space Cases, 1996-1997. Before Star Trek, Prodigy, or even Stranger Things, Nickelodeon dared to give kids their own sci-fi adventure.
Wait a minute. What did he say? How did he describe this?
The battlefield to the stars, pitting humanity against an alien enemy in one of the most
I do not remember Space Cases being about going to war the way he's describing this.
ambitious military sci-fi series of the decade. Number 2, Space Cases, 1996-1997.
Yeah, I think that description is way off.
Before Star Trek, Prodigy, or even Stranger Things, Nickelodeon dared to give kids their own sci-fi adventure, and it was far stranger than anyone expected. Space Cases followed a ragtag group of misfit students from an intergalactic academy who accidentally launched themselves aboard an alien starship. With no way home, they have to work together, using their unique talents to survive bizarre planets, hostile aliens.
Now, what's funny is, I believe it's this one. She leaves the show and her imaginary friend takes her place. Because everyone thinks her friend's imaginary, but it turns out she just exists on a different plane of reality and she can see her and communicate with her.
Mysteries of deep space. The cast was as colorful as the sets, literally. There was Harlan, the cocky Earth kid, Catalina, who could communicate with dolphins in her head, Radu, an alien with super hearing, and Bova, a gloomy alien who constantly fired off electricity. Their teachers, including the quirky Commander Goddard and the wise Ms. Davenport, tried to keep the chaos under.
Unless she's the one that came later. I feel like she's the one that came later and took the other girl's place. Because she's not pictured here. Because I think they showed her in the video. And him, they basically wrote him out, actually, if I remember correctly. He was barely there. Because he was supposed to be there, and I didn't watch this religiously. It was just something that I thought was interesting. But I feel like he got hurt, and they just kind of wrote him out, and he'd pop up every now and again. And I don't remember this character at all. Shows you how much I was into it. I do remember this guy, because he was on a show called Ghost Rider. And then he did this, and I don't recall him in anything after that.
Control. What made Space Cases memorable was its mix of humor and heart.
Oh, if you didn't catch it, this is the Black Power Ranger.
Didn't shy away from emotional themes like belonging, teamwork, and facing your fears, but it delivered them through campy costumes and neon-soaked alien worlds. For many kids, it was their first taste of serialized science fiction. Sadly, the show only lasted 2 seasons. Nickelodeon struggled with budget limitations, and the wacky tone never quite found a mainstream audience. Some episodes were even left unaired in reruns, making the series feel more like a half-remembered dream for those who grew up with it. Still, fans look back fondly, calling it the kids' version of Star Trek. With modern effects and today's appetite for all-ages sci-fi, Space Cases could easily thrive again. But while Space Cases captured the imagination of children, the final show on our list was dead serious. A full-blown war epic that ended before it ever got to fulfill its massive potential. Number 1, Space.
Yes.
Above and Beyond.
I did cover this one. This is one of my favorite shows on Fox. I wish it could have hung around longer. The ending was sad. But yeah, this is definitely one I would love to see come back. Even pick up where it left off. But yeah, I would love to see this one come back. It would be awesome if it came back.
1995 to 1996. If there was ever a 90s sci-fi show that felt built to last but never got its chance, it was Space, Above and Beyond. Created by X-Files writers Glenn Morgan and James Wong, the series was a gritty, large-scale military space drama that put young Marines on the front lines of an interstellar war against an alien race known as the Chigs. The show focused on the 58th Squadron, a group of fresh recruits suddenly thrust into the brutal realities of combat. It blended war drama with deep sci-fi world-building, exploring themes like sacrifice, loyalty, and what it means to be human when the future of the species is at stake. Visually, it pushed the limits of 90s TV, delivering impressive space battles and special effects that rivaled some films of the era. Critics praised its ambition, but Fox gave it a brutal time slot. Sunday nights against NFL football. Ratings never recovered. Despite plans for a sweeping 5-season arc, the series was canceled after just 1 year, ending on a devastating cliffhanger that left fans stunned. Over time, Space, Above and Beyond has gained cult status. Viewers still praise its gritty realism, emotional depth, and bold storytelling, calling it a precursor to later hits like Battlestar Galactica. With modern audiences embracing darker, serialized sci-fi, this is one series that could absolutely thrive if revived today. But while Space, Above and Beyond ended in tragedy, its legacy reminds us just how daring 90s television could be when it reached for the stars. Those were 15...
I'll end it here. I'm going to ruin Space Above and Beyond. Pretty much everyone dies. That's what I said. It was so depressing at the end. Only 2 of the main characters survive. Otherwise, everyone else dies. I will also tell you that it turns out the humans started the war. Yeah, it's all the humans' fault that they're at war with these aliens. I wouldn't compare it to Starship Troopers. I was just thinking if you were thinking it's like Starship Troopers. No, I wouldn't compare it to that. There is definitely a big difference. But yeah, it was a good show. I just wish it could have got the episodes of the series or the seasons that needed to flush out everything. But yeah, that is definitely one that I would love to see come back. And again, like I said, I'll leave a link for my shows that I did. I'll leave a link even for the Sequest one and Space Above and Beyond and Sliders, if I remember. I'm still recovering. I had some issues, and so my mind is not like it used to be. But hopefully I'll bounce back. But yeah, definitely Space Above and Beyond. I would love to see that come back. All right, everyone. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and everyone take care. Later.